I got to hit record.
Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 98. I am Chris Chapman, and joining me, as always, is the host, Eddie Rivkin. Big shout out to our sponsors, Dr. John Pierce, JJ, who I believe is in New York with Eddie, and you could go check him out. Listen, I've seen the results myself. When I met Eddie, he was, well, let's just say he was a portly fellow. He has slimmed down. I don't know what he's down to now, but I know he's lost well over 100 pounds. So if you want to slim down and not look like a portly fella, go visit JJ, Dr. John Pierce. You could check him out on the World Wide Web at agelessforever.net. Big shout out to the Las Vegas Advisor. They have been with us for a very, very long time, and they help us obviously promote this podcast. And number one in the city for tips, strip clubs, restaurants, gaming tips, and all that great stuff when you come to visit our wonderful city. Check them out at lasvegasadvisor.com. And my lawyer, the man, the myth, the legend, Joe Riccio at Marathon Law Group. Listen, don't believe the hype. I've never been in serious trouble anyway. But if I was, I would check out and go hang out with Joe Riccio and talk to him, help him get your ass out of trouble. You could check those guys out, Joe and Boris, at marathonlawgroup.com. And Eddie, wake the fuck up, man. You're not at the Islanders game anymore. Come on, wake up. What the hell?
Oh. Hey, Chris.
Jeez. That was it was funny because I was in the studio last night running the pre and post game on Fox Sports Las Vegas, and Bobby Machado, our wonderful producer, I had to wake him up too because
so it's not just me.
No, it was a snooze fest, and I think the Islanders like it that way. I think that's exactly what they wanted to do, but Jesus, that was a tough watch. And I know that they had 35 shots. I don't really give a shit. It was a hard game to sit through. I don't know how anyone who paid for that would walk away say, "Oh, that was a good game," because it was awful. Listen,
it's funny because we were talking about it. I was sitting next to Paul De Los Santos from NHL.com, and we were talking to the local beat writer from the Islanders, and we're like, if you can make this team look exciting in print, you should get a Pulitzer Prize. and honest to God, I mean, I got to tell you that I spent more time on Facebook and watching cat videos last night during the game. I've never seen an NHL game like that. They gave up 4 shots in the first period and 1 goal. And we were saying, there's a realistic chance that this is going to hold up.
Yeah.
And, it almost did. And, I think let's talk more about the Islander game. It was a much different game than the game in T-Mobile a couple of weeks ago. They certainly made some adjustments to the Islanders 1-1-3, stand them up at the blue line. They were more effective on the forecheck. Brandon Saad is the Brandon Saad we expect. They amassed 35 shots. They got a bunch toward the end of the game. They certainly out high danger chanced them. I think the Islanders had 2 goals and maybe 4 high danger chances. But this is eerily reminiscent of the trip 2 years ago where they lost all the games. But in that trip, they played better and they started to round into form. And Shea Theodore returned from an injury, and Bruce was unhappy with the result, but happy with the get to our game statement. These last 2 games, I mean, they owned the Rangers for the first 40 minutes, completely dominated the game. They take a penalty. They don't get a clear, and the next thing you know, it's in the back of the net, and we're off, and they lose 4-2. But I'm still not going to hit the panic button, but I'm going to say there's a concern. And, after the Ranger game, Bruce said frustration is the worst emotion. Well, if it's not frustrated, I wonder what it is, Chris. Is it anger? Because it feels to me Like Bruce is starting to percolate and boil a little bit.
Well,
So
I think deservedly so. I mean, this team is too good to play a 40-minute game. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. It's
no,
bullshit. It's bullshit that they go out there against a good team like the New York Rangers with a great goalie like Igor Shesterkin and put in 2/3 of an effort. Like, that's unacceptable. What's unacceptable is you put 65 shots on Ilya Sorokin and you score one fucking goal against a bad team. 35 last night, 30 here at T-Mobile. They scored one goal in 2 games against the New York Islanders, who aren't even a playoff team. Like, if you're frustrated, why are you not turning that frustration into positive results? Like, I kind of disagree with Bruce a little bit about the frustration being the worst emotion. I think apathy is probably the worst emotion. And Eddie, I didn't see a team last night that was frustrated or a team that was angry. I saw a team that was apathetic. And I don't think, outside of a few guys, it looked like for the most part, there was some going through the motions. And you understand what you need to do to win games in this league. Get in front of the goalie. Get shots on net. Find ways to score greasy goals. And I don't think Brandon Saad's goal was greasy, but I thought it was effort.
it was
It
pretty
was
close to it was close
it
to greasy.
it was an effort goal,
Yes,
right?
for sure.
And Brandon Saad is a guy who gave up what, $5 million guaranteed to come and play for this organization. So you know that he gives a shit. You know he wants to win. He had the opportunity to go play in Tampa, and he came to Vegas. Why? Because this was the best opportunity for him to win. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to name names, but I think we need to see some better efforts from some of these guys. I got a text last night, and I didn't agree with it, that Mark Stone has been MIA since the Heiskanen incident. I don't agree with that.
No,
I
that's that
it's a
sounds
bad
like that.
take.
It sounds like that moron Mike.
No, it wasn't Mike. It was someone else, and I called the guy out on the text line saying this is a terrible take. Like, Mark Stone does not take shifts off. Mark Stone does not take games off. You will always get a 100% effort from Mark Stone. Jack Eichel, listen, he carried this team through the Ranger game with 2 goals. Last night, he didn't have a shot on net until the third period. So, I think for this organization, it's certainly not on Mark Stone. It's not on Jack Eichel. It's not on Tomas Hertl, and it's not on Pavel Dorofeyev. But there's a lot of other guys that need to hold themselves accountable right now and look themselves in the mirror and say, what are we doing? Because while I think in the long run they'll be fine, it's at some point you have to say we're sick of it. That's a thing Bruce has said. We're sick of losing. Well, I need to see that, because I didn't see a team last night that was sick of losing. Now, defensively, they played like they were sick of losing. They didn't give the Islanders shit. But
They gave up the
but
least.
but
They gave up the least amount of shots that they've given up in franchise history. 14.
yeah, and they lost 2-1. And a point I made on the pregame show last night, which I think resonates with me, is I don't care how many mistakes you make. If you don't score goals, you don't fucking win. And they made 2 mistakes last night. Now, one was, I think, probably because they had to make some changes in the lines. They went with an extra uh,
11-7.
11-7. And I think they got caught in a line change because it's not something that they're familiar with. So I give them a pass on the first goal, because it was just I think it was one of those things we're not sure what we're supposed to do. Now, someone probably should have said, maybe I don't go off the ice. But you know what? That's something, it's a weird situation. But the second goal, where I think the Islanders got away with an icing, and then Alexander Holtz iced the puck, led to a face-off in the offensive zone for the Islanders. They were able to keep the puck in the zone after it looked like Vegas was going to get it out. Guy from the Islanders, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was one of the, I think it was Tony DeAngelo, put a shot on net, and it was tipped by Brock Nelson, and it
Okay.
ends up being the winning goal.
All right, I gotta stop you here. You were spot on up until you said shot on goal. That shot was going 3 feet wide, and it was a high tip, almost at the dot, and Zach Whitecloud was draped all over Brock Nelson. That goal to me is way more forgivable than the first goal. The first goal, yeah, they got caught in a bit of a line change, and if anybody in the world you wouldn't have wanted to get caught in a line change, it's the guy who's been here the shortest amount of time, and it was Brandon Saad.
Yeah.
He just missed his coverage, and shit happens, and it goes back to, and Bruce said it after the game last night. We needed to get that this time. We needed to get the save in the first period, and we didn't. Now, Samsonov made a couple of big saves to keep them in, but that second goal is a hockey play that teams try every single night. I mean, the shot was going 3 feet wide to the goalie's left, and it went into the upper right corner. Or is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it went
so, yeah.
it went all the way across the net. So, kudos to Brock Nelson. It was a good hockey play, but that's not really what's going on here. In 2 games, they've got 70 shots and they've scored 3 goals. I'm not a mathematician and I don't play one on television, but that shooting percentage is pretty much fucking invisible. And we've talked about puck luck sometimes, and Bruce has talked about puck luck sometimes, but you know what? You earn puck luck. And I think what they're suffering from and what they're struggling with is they are not getting to the dirty ice. And I understand that it's a slog when you play the Islanders. I get that whole thing. But they didn't, I don't want to say the effort wasn't there, but they didn't do what they needed to do. And when you're not grinding hard and you're not getting to the dirty ice, you're not earning your puck luck. You know what I mean? You're not getting the bounces because you're not earning the bounces because your players aren't in position to get the bounces if the bounces happen to have. And I can't believe I said bounces like 11 times in that sentence. But, the symptom, or not the symptom, the cause is they're not getting there. We talked about in the very first episode of this season, Chris, you and I, secondary scoring. Who's going to pick up the secondary scoring? Well, for the first 35 games, it was Brett Howden, Keegan Colasar, the emergence of Dorofeyev. But you know what? They're all MIA. I don't have the stats, and we don't like to talk about stats, but it's been an awful long time since Brett Howden scored. It's been an awful long time since Keegan Colasar scored.
I'm gonna give a defense of Brett Howden. He's had to play on the fourth line. He has
been the tutor a little bit, but you still, I mean, it's got to be at least 10 games.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Haven't seen Barbashev on the score sheet in a while.
Yeah, he has not scored since coming back from injury, and I think he's only got 1 point. I think he's got 1 assist. We're now 14 games from him being back from injury, and he has 0 goals. I know Nick Waugh had an assist. Was it last night?
Yeah.
But he hasn't scored a goal since he's come back from injury either. So, you talked about the secondary scoring, and I don't look at Barbashev as a secondary goal scorer. He's playing on the top line.
Yeah.
And I think he's a guy who, if you're relying on him to be your secondary scorer, I think you're in a bit of trouble because, to me, Barbashev is one of their top goal scorers. He's not Eichel, he's not Hurdle, but he's in that next wave of guys who should be scoring goals for you. And 14 games without a goal. He had 15 before he was injured. He was on pace for 30 goals. I don't think he's going to get there.
No,
I don't think he gets 40. I don't think he gets 30 goals, which to me, injury aside, That's extremely disappointing. And
This is
he's one of my favorite players.
yeah.
So
I mean,
I
this
I
is
I
this
have a hard,
is
I have a hard time, calling him out, but he's got to start scoring goals.
there. This is troublesome. We've talked the last two episodes. Are you panicking? I don't think that there's any panic in the room.
No, I don't think so either.
I think that, I think they're gripping their sticks. I mean, they realize listen, these people are very self aware. Bruce is very self aware. George and Kelly, very self aware. They know that this team, there's something going wrong on this team. And there's a lot of things that are going wrong. Ken Bulkey at Sinbin, who loves talking about statistics that nobody understands. Here's one that you do understand. How about if I told you that they are 1-8-3 against starting goalies?
I've seen that. I've seen him tweet that out. Yeah.
Right? That's kind of a wild statistic, right?
That's a bit of a troubling statistic.
Yeah, because
They've gotten beaten by Sorokin twice. They've gotten beaten by Shesterkin twice. And I know that those are upper echelon goalies, but look,
100%.
they're getting beat by Jake Ottinger.
Well, but Jake Ottinger is a top shelf goalie as well. I mean, but
Yeah, but if you're going to win in the playoffs, these are goalies that you need to beat.
Yeah, for sure. 1,000%.
Because you're probably not going to see Shesterkin or Sorokin, but there's a good chance the road to the Stanley Cup goes through Dallas or Winnipeg. And
yeah,
if you're not beating starting goalies, I don't think you're going to beat Connor Hellebuck or Jake Ottinger in the playoffs.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, for conversation's sake, let's not talk about panic. Let's talk about concern. What's your concern level on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, I think it's higher than it's been. I think it's probably like a 6 for me.
That's
you know,
exactly
I'm
where
now
I'm at.
I'm now more concerned than I'm not concerned, and that wasn't the case a few weeks ago. And I don't know what this team needs to do to get the ship righted, but what I do know is, as a team, they're not functioning as a team right now. And that's uncharacteristic. I talked a lot in the pre and post about uncharacteristic. This team had been so good at closing out games in the third period. They didn't do that the other night. This team had been pretty good about coming back when giving up the first goal. They didn't do that last night, but it's the uncharacteristic mistakes. They were bad percentage-wise on the penalty kill against the Rangers the other day. They gave up 2 goals. And listen, we could sit here and make all the excuses we want about the goals that they gave up last night. At the end of the day, they gave up 2 goals on 14 shots, and they fucking lost. So that's cause for concern. And what causes the most concern for me is watching the here's that word again, the anger and the frustration of Bruce over the last few games. And to me, that's because for a long time, Bruce was not concerned.
Yeah, he said as much.
I'm starting to see a little bit of an evolution in his press conferences where he is getting a little concerned. And for me, as the novice, as a guy who only covers the sport, when I see that, that's a sign that there is genuine concern in the locker room that whatever was working early on this season, for so much of December, they were unbeatable, and we're thinking this team is on fire. We knew that there would be a bump in the road, but we are beyond a bump in the road at this point. When you look at their last, and I think since the Islander game on January 9th, I think they have 3 wins.
I think that, and this is going to sound like Gen X or Gen Z or what all those young kid generations are. It feels, the feeling you get standing, on the road, you're literally, 2 feet from Bruce. And, kudos to our friend and guest on episode 97, Ashley Weiss, for asking the tough questions. But I don't want, yeah, Bruce's demeanor has changed a little bit. I feel and I sense that there's something different. And I'm not going to go to the crazy worst case scenarios of losing the room and all that. That's ridiculous stuff. But there's something going on where this team isn't themselves. And I, being the out of the box thinker, the great out of the box thinker of all time, do have the way to get them out of the funk. Would you like me to tell you, Chapman, how I suggest they get out of the funk?
What do they do?
I think Mr. Foley sends a wire transfer to Kelly and George for $30,000. The team is not practicing. It is 10 minutes to 12, by the way. We're on Wednesday morning. It's an off day between the Islanders game and the New Jersey Devils game today. The highlight of the day has nothing to do with hockey. The highlight is my less fat ass is going to Peter Luger for steak tonight. But
yeah, I hate you.
I think Mr. Foley needs to send $30,000 to George and Kelly, and they need to get on the team bus, and they need to go to Spearmint Rhino for the night. I think they need to go out and have more than a couple of pops, and have a bunch of girls act like they like them, and tell them how wonderful and amazing, and pump their tires a little bit. And if they're a little bit hungover tomorrow morning for morning skate, well, that's okay. But this is not a traditional steak dinner team building exercise. I'm calling for a Spearmint Rhino run Wednesday night, Times Square. Be there. That's gonna be what's gonna get them out of the funk for the Jersey game tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not an outside the box thinker.
You're not gonna endorse that plan?
No, I won't. I won't endorse that. Despite the fact that for a very long time you said I was a big Las Vegas advisor guy for strip club tips. I'm actually not the strip club guy, but
sometimes you have to do things for the art.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm a big fan of art, just not particularly
that
art that costs me a lot of money. So
art that jiggles.
I'm more of a fan of the generic printed art as opposed to. Okay. I have a Peter Max reprint on one of my walls. So
okay, so
it's not
official.
Real.
Chapman doesn't endorse the Spearmint Rhino.
No. Now, what I do endorse is you are in New York.
I
am
one
of the greatest. Not you, the team. One of the greatest cities in the world. Get out as a team. I don't know what the weather's like there. I saw the video of New York of the Islanders. It looked like shit. Looked like it rained.
Arctic.
Oh,
28 degrees. And we're expecting an ice storm for late tonight into tomorrow. So getting out to New Jersey ought to be just a fucking hoot.
Yeah, you're going to love that train ride on New Jersey Transit.
Yes. And a nice walk through Newark.
From Penn Station, Newark to the Prudential Center. But, the thing is, I think they're going to fix it. I don't know how, but this organization has never given me a reason to not think that they will fix whatever is broken, whether it's a trade at the deadline.
Well, let's go right there. When other teams are struggling and playing to well less than their expected, performance, a lot of the times a big trade shakes up the lineup. There's no better example than the New York Rangers. They were dead.
Yeah.
Dead, right? Morte de femme, deader than dead.
They traded away their captain.
They traded away, what's his face? Kako. Sent him out.
Former number one overall pick. Yeah.
Right? And now they're in the hunt. Do you think, okay, so we both agree the concern level is about 6, maybe 6.5, something like that. Are we getting close to the point where George and Kelly say, fuck it, we need to shake the lineup up? And, it's got to be a hockey trade. They don't have any dough,
Yeah,
right?
I don't think they're going to do that. I think they like the team that they have. Like I
Okay.
don't see them doing anything that is going to be on the front pages of the Athletic tomorrow where you're like, "Holy shit." Like I don't see them being stupid like the Dallas Mavericks and trading away a franchise player for a broken down former great player. Um, I don't see that happening. I think what they're going to do is they're going to probably limp into this bye week or the 2 weeks, and then they're going to fucking get healthy. And I don't like, to me, last night, the Ranger game, the Dallas game, the game against Columbus, you know what these games were for me? These were games where you really miss William Karlsson because he has the ability to do things that a lot of other guys on this roster don't. I don't give a shit if William Karlsson ever scores another goal. It's the little things that William Karlsson does that make this team a good hockey team. It's his vision. It's the ability to take guys next to him and make them all-star caliber players. His ability to take guys and get them big contracts when their contracts expire. That's what William Karlsson does, and that's what they miss. I don't know when he's going to be back. I know he's not playing in the Four Nations faceoff because he was replaced by Ricard Raquel yesterday. So that's out. So let's hope that the injection for this team after this 2-week pause is they get William Karlsson back. He's healthy and he's able to get back to doing William Karlsson things. The penalty kill, the high IQ plays, the ability, the vision, the ability to bring the puck through the neutral zone when teams play awful styles of hockey. That's what they miss. And I'm not saying that that's the only thing and that's the instant fix because it's probably not. But I think that's
It's
something that
it's
starts,
certainly part of it.
I think that's something that starts to trend you in the right direction. But, we don't know when he's going to be back. I think, the other thing is these guys, they've played a lot of hockey the last couple of years and they're going to get 2 weeks off. But after that 2 weeks, it becomes a grind. And we know Petrangelo's going to take these 2 weeks to get healthy. But the guys who aren't hurt and banged up, I hope they use whatever it is they obviously have a week and I don't know how many days after to get away from hockey.
Is it a league wide shutdown? Do you know? Are they allowed to
They are,
practice during that?
I think one of the weeks is, and then I think they are able to come back the second week and do hockey activities. We know Bruce isn't going to be there. So I
Well, but
don't know.
listen, that the
No,
staff
they
the
they
staff
have
that they
guys.
got there, that having Bruce there is not that big
Yeah,
a
I
deal.
mean, listen, you've got Sean Farrell who runs practices when guys are rehabbing. You've got Joel Ward, who's I think going to be an NHL head coach one day. So
And
there's got
maybe a dinner guest tonight. Just saying.
oh, well, lucky guy. But I don't know what the rules are, but I do believe that they will have the ability to practice as a team after a specific amount of time. But guys like Keegan Colasar, guys like Raphael Lavoie, who probably is still trying to settle in, right? Brandon Saad, he's probably going to use these 2 weeks. He's probably not going to Cabo. He's probably going to find a place to live. He's probably going to bring his family from St. Louis, where they've been, and get settled in. But guys like Keegan Colasar, guys like Tomas Hertl, get the fuck away from hockey for however long it takes. Get on a plane with your family, go to Hawaii, go to Cabo, go to fucking Tahiti. Just get away. And when you come back, you put that gear on and you get angry. And you go out there and you start kicking some fucking ass again. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but it's easy for me to say it from T-Mobile Arena, where somehow the Golden Knights are playing the Florida Panthers. But listen, I mean, I'm taking some time to get away. I'm going on a little vacation of my own, and I think you're going to Detroit. You're going to visit family. You're going to spend some time back home. Probably eat some good pizza. enjoy the cold.
Enjoy the -6. Yeah, I'm
Yeah, for
really,
everybody,
really looking forward to that. Yep, yep,
yeah,
yep.
yeah, get away, So, um, I don't want to sound too much more doom and gloom because there's something that I saw this morning I want to talk to you about. Maybe we'll do that after the break. But my to get back to the original point, my level of concern is a 6, but I still believe that whatever it is, they will fix and they will get it right.
Okay, before we get to the next topic, let's get a word in from Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever, and I can do the plugs because I've been awake for 34 minutes now. How about that?
There we go.
I'm here with Dr. John Pierce. We're talking about all the different treatments and all the things that he takes care of here at agelessforever.net. The big thing men are seeing mostly on television these days is low T. Dr. Pierce is going to tell you the compelling reason why testosterone therapy treatment here at Ageless Forever is significantly better. Doc?
We do testosterone therapy with a little more nuance. The guidelines kind of suggest that if your testosterone level is above 300, that you shouldn't get testosterone therapy. And I got a lot of men that come to me that are miserable. They have a lot of symptoms of low testosterone and their level's just a little bit above 300, and we treat them and they feel amazingly better. Their quality of life is better, their home life is better, their work life is better. So, that's the kind of thing that I'm looking to do, is improve people's lives. Come on down, we can test you, and then we can talk about the different options.
I've been on it now for probably pretty close to a year. I didn't realize how bad I felt until I started feeling good. I don't know if that resonates with everybody, but I'm a man of 60. And when Doc said, let's look at your testosterone, and it was a frighteningly bad number, he simply said, I can fix it. I feel so much stronger physically. I feel so much sharper mentally. I feel just, I guess, probably younger is probably the best word. If you feel off, if you're over 40, your testosterone's declining. Send a message, sign up for the free consultation. You need to get some lab work to find out exactly where you're at. I'm proof it works. You owe it to yourself and your significant other to be the best you. www.agelessforever.net. Send a message, take the consultation, be better.
All right, we're back. Chapman's going to bring up the next topic for us. What's on your mind there, Mr. Chapman?
All right, Eddie. Well, I was taking my son to school this morning, and I generally will sit and wait in the car with him while he waits for the school bus to go to his little magnet school. But I was waiting for him to get on the bus, and I was scrolling through my phone, and I came across this athletic player poll that was released. And what they do is they polled 111 players league-wide, and they asked them a variety of questions related to the league. So I'm going to go through it with you, and I'm going to poll you like you are the player, and you don't know these answers.
The player I wanted to be, yes. Okay.
Yes, so you get to be an NHL player for this segment, and I'll chime in with.
Before we start with this, is this an anonymous poll?
It is an anonymous poll.
Okay, so nobody's going to be quoted about.
No
Okay.
one's going to be quoted.
And I'm not going to be quoted, except it's going to be forever captured on
Right.
YouTube. Okay, sure. First
right.
question.
So there were 82 responses to this question. The first, you have a no trade clause.
Okay.
What is the first team listed on your no trade clause?
Buffalo.
That would have been mine as well. Buffalo was second on that list. Any idea who would be first?
Ottawa?
No. The number one, receiving 48, almost 49% of the vote, was Winnipeg. Now,
shitty place to live, small arena,
Yep.
enormous taxes. That's. I mean, it's pretty obscure if you're trying to advance your career. That makes sense. But Buffalo easy for me.
Yeah,
Winnipeg. Everything about them sucks.
I would not have Winnipeg on my list at all because I want to win. And
and they want to win.
Listen, you've got Connor Hellebuck, you've got Mark Scheifele, you've got Kyle Connor, you've got Nikolai Ehlers, you've got Josh Morrissey. You have the ability to potentially win a Stanley Cup playing for the Winnipeg Jets. Now, I think they ride Hellebuck a little too much in the regular season, and it hurts them in the postseason. But they're a good organization. They're a good team. They want to win. They're committed to winning. Listen, they signed Hellebuck and Scheifele to these ridiculously long extensions.
Yep.
Clearly, those guys are committed to the city. They're committed to winning. To me, that's not an organization I would not want to play for. Buffalo, certainly at the top of my list. You know, the other two that come in, and I'm not surprised at either one, San Jose. And for me, I don't mind the Bay Area. It's very expensive to live.
Extraordinarily expensive.
Especially if you're a fringe player who's on a low-end contract. That's a very, very, like, we're not talking, like, not every player made Joe Thornton money or Joe Pavelski money in San Jose. You've got guys on league minimum contracts. And it gets even worse if you're in the minors and you're a member of the Barracuda. You probably have 5 or 6 guys living in a home with you.
Yeah, but you know what? San Jose, I mean, Macklin Celebrini, he's the real deal. And, And Mike Greer, you know, it's going to take them a while, but
I think he's committed.
I think he's committed, and I think he's the real deal. I disagree with San Jose. Okay, what's fourth?
Calgary.
Same thing. Obscure small market. Horrible
very
taxes,
old arena.
Barbarically fucking cold.
Yeah.
To live. I mean, it's fun during the Stampede, but I can't think of another reason I would want to go to Calgary. And it's obscure, right? You don't get the looks, right? If you're looking for your second contract or your third contract and you're looking to really cash in, that's sort of obscure. But still, for me, everything about Buffalo sucks.
Yeah. Now, the one player, again, no name, he picked Philadelphia, and he's quoted.
Oh, somebody fucking hates Torts.
No.
Come on.
No. He says, honestly, I wouldn't mind Winnipeg. It's not that nice, but I just hate Philadelphia. I just hate Philly. I can't stand it. I can't stand the city. Everything. It's rink. It's just one city that I absolutely despise. I can't
I know who
stand
this
it.
is.
I'd be sick if I got traded there. If
I know
I
who
had
it is.
a one
It's Cutter
team,
it's Cutter Goche.
it's got to be.
It has to be. Who
It's
else
got
could
to
it
be,
be?
right?
Yes.
I don't know if
That's an
he's
easy.
high profile enough to be on the list, but
Yeah, that's true.
let's
Okay.
move on to the next one.
Before we do that, let's get a shameless plug in for Joe Riccio at Marathon Law. Contrary to what Chapman told you while I was sleeping, he does get into trouble, and Joe Riccio does get him out of trouble.
He does.
So we'll be right back after a word from Chris and Joe Riccio.
I'm here with Joe Riccio from Marathon Law Group. And Joe, one of the things that really bothers me about this city and driving around in Las Vegas is all the hit and runs that I see in the news, or all of the people driving around without insurance. So what exactly is uninsured motorist coverage on someone's policy?
Well, it's a great question. We get a lot of people, Chris, that come in here, victims of auto accidents, and they'll say, I was rear-ended, the person fled the scene, I don't know who it was, or the person gave me their auto insurance card and the policy is expired, what do I do? It goes right to the heart of your question. Having uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage on your policy is imperative here in Nevada, and what it basically means is if the person who hit you does not have coverage or you don't know who they are, you are able to tap into your underinsured motorist coverage at no fault of your own, no increased premium of your own. Without that coverage, you wouldn't be able to recover anything. And what makes it really important is in a lot of states in the country here, United States, they are required to have uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. Here in Nevada, you're not. So one of the things we would recommend here from Marathon Law Group is for you to go onto your policy or contact your broker and find out if in fact you have uninsured motorist or uninsured motorist, sometimes called UIM, on your policy moving forward.
And people would handle a hit and run or an uninsured motorist accident the same way?
Yeah, it's basically a similar event. So In essence, look at it this way: the person who hit you doesn't have insurance. Whether you know them or not, there's nothing you can do besides more extreme means of actually going into court. But for this purpose, the only protection you would have is if you have your own uninsured motorist or UIM coverage on your own policy.
Okay, we're back. Question 2 in the athletic player survey. Eddie Rivkin standing in as a phony baloney NHL player. Go ahead, Chris.
All right. 108 responses to this. What coach, other than your own, would you most like to play for? So let's take Bruce Cassidy out of the equation.
Wow. That one is a doozy. I would want to Paul Maurice.
He's
Florida
number 2.
Paul Maurice, Florida Panthers, would be my number 1 choice. A, because I think he's a fucking hoot, because we have more fun listening to his press conferences,
Yeah.
good, bad, and indifferent. And the fact that he absolutely, he's just a hockey lifer. You can just look at his win-loss record, the amount of games he's coached. But he seems like a guy who is the perfect mix of player coach and disciplinarian coach.
Yeah.
And he gets the absolute best out of his club. So I would say Paul Maurice would be my 1. And God, thinking about it, that's
When I tell you who's number 1, I don't think you're going to be surprised.
he.
John Cooper.
Oh yeah, I forgot I should have stayed right in Florida when I was down there.
I don't disagree with those two. I think those two guys would probably be near the top of my list as well. A guy who's a little bit further down the list, but I think would probably also be in my list of guys I'd want to play for. I'm going to throw Rick Tocchet in there. I just think Rick Tocchet is a really good hockey coach.
Yeah.
Again, a lifer.
Yep.
And I think he's a winner. And I like that. And he seems like he's pretty good with the media. He understands. I like Rick Tocchet, so I would put him near the top of my list as well.
I think that bunch you put Rick Tocchet in with Torts and what's his face in Carolina,
Rod Brindamore, who happened to be third on the list.
Yeah, so I mean, ex-players, fairly stiff guys, right? But lifer hockey guys. So I would Paul Maurice is 1. John Cooper's a fantastic choice. I was trying to scan the league as I was asked the question, since you and I notoriously don't rehearse these things, so we have to think on the spot a little bit. So yeah, but that next group would be Tocchet, Carolina, and Torts for me.
Now
for
Jared
sure.
Bednar got some love from someone because he likes the style of hockey that they play. So
yeah, because Nathan McKinnon plays for him.
No,
okay.
I'm going to skip this one. I'll come back to it. No. I'm going to come back to it. Yeah.
Okay. Question 3.
All right. 110 responses. Now, this is a little bit tougher for us, but what NHL team has the best facilities for opposing teams? I think you'll like the answer to this.
I have to tell you, UBS last night, some of the visitors' locker rooms were eerily similar to locker rooms I grew up in the 70s and 80s that are small and cramped and stink like bodily functions and things like that. The UBS facilities last night were really, really nice. Garden, not so much, but it's kind of hard because we don't really see the facilities other than the guest locker room on the occasions that we travel. So, but I was, we walked into UBS last night into the visitors' locker room, and it was 2.5 times the size of the room in the Garden. So I'll go with UBS just out of knowing it.
Well, number 1 was Detroit. They got and it was pretty Detroit, Seattle, and Edmonton, the 3 teams, they kind of ran away with it. Vegas was 4th. And I'll just say, listen, I haven't been in a ton of home locker rooms, but I've been in a bunch of visitor locker rooms. And the Golden Knights visitor locker room is pretty big. It's large. So
yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, Seattle was pretty nice.
Yeah.
When I went up there a couple of years ago for the Seattle-Vancouver run, Detroit's was nice because I've been to a couple of Golden Knights games in Detroit, in my hometown. Yeah, I mean, but again, it's completely it's completely biased because I've only been in 7 or 8 visitors' locker rooms.
Yeah. So this one, worst facilities, 105 responses. I've only been in 2 of the teams that made the list, and I'll tell you what they are. I've been in Washington and I've been in MSG. Both made the list. And I will say Washington is awful. I'll also throw San Jose in there. San Jose is pretty bad too.
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, MSG is literally about as bare bones as you could possibly get.
but it's also a very old arena. So
Well, but it
the
also
number one.
it also went through a $2 billion renovation a few years ago.
Yeah. Now, Calgary, or not Calgary, Carolina runs away with it 66%. Calgary was number 2 at 20%. So we're at 85% between those two teams. I've never been to either place. I'm thinking about going to Calgary this year. So I might be able to report back. But Carolina's must be really, really, really bad.
Okay. Next
Next
question.
one. 110 responses. Simple, yes or no. Do you like the idea of an in-season tournament like the NBA?
No,
Same. And that's the winner.
no,
Simple yes or no.
absolutely not. Play the fucking
Yeah.
season, win the
Yep.
Stanley Cup. Let's go.
Yep. 108 responses to this one. Is the season too long?
Is the season too long? In games or calendar days, or does it not
doesn't
specify?
say. It says
Yes.
shortening or eliminating the preseason.
Yes.
10 of them mentioned shortening or, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think it's too long. I think the preseason's too long, but I don't think the regular season's
They
too
sh-
long. In fact, I think they need 2 more regular season games.
In the whole of things, the Stanley Cup shouldn't be given out at the end of June. That's why I think it's too long.
That's a fair enough point.
Start 3 weeks earlier or 2 weeks, instead of having the first regular season game be on October 1st, have it be on September 15th, cut out 2 preseason games, get the cup awarded as early as possible before the NBA title.
Yeah. All right.
That's what I think.
Simple yes or no answer. And this was actually really close. Should Gary Bettman retire?
Yes.
All right. Players agree, but it's 54-45 on that one. So
Listen, he's the longest tenured commissioner by decades. He's brought the league, to financial places. He works for the owners. He has 32 bosses. He's brought the league financial success that they hadn't ever seen before. But there's been lockouts. There's been bumps. It's time. He's in his 70s, right? It's time for him. Kudos. Get the gold watch. Go down as a legacy guy who's really, done as much to make hockey a true top 4 sport as it is, considering it's the most regionalized sport of the majors.
yeah.
But yeah, kudos for a mostly outstanding job. But much like the Players Association kind of went off the board when they got their new president, picking the former mayor of Boston, but also the former U.S. Labor Secretary. It's time for the NHL to get really younger and perhaps a little bit more open-minded in their thinking about how they do some new business, I would say.
Yeah. I'll just say this. I think Gary leaves behind a pretty good legacy.
Oh, fantastic legacy.
So
Absolutely
I'm not
fantastic.
one of those people who hates him or boos
Nah.
him. You know what? I like Gary Bettman. I think he's good for the sport. And I think he's going to leave, when he does finally step aside, I think he's going to leave a pretty good legacy behind. So
Agreed.
the one I skipped, and I'm going to
Okay.
come back to it because I want your take on this. What coach would you least like to play for?
What coach would I least like to play for?
There's an overwhelming number one here.
Well, I mean, it can't be the new guy in San Jose because he hasn't been there long enough. A current active coach?
Yeah, although some guys further down the list are not coaching, but the guy who won this is
Because I was thinking Suter from Calgary would be one.
yeah.
Least like I think it's probably they had to say Torts.
Yeah, Tortorella, number one, with 38% of the vote. The reason I skipped it is because of who's number two on the list. And to me, it comes as a bit of a surprise.
Oh, don't tell me it's fucking Butch.
12% Bruce Cassidy.
Really?
I think I read, so one of the quote is, I haven't heard too many good things about the Vegas coach, another said. I don't really know him that well, but I haven't heard anything good about him. To me, that's bullshit. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased. I think Bruce
That's Jake DeBrusque.
I think Bruce Cassidy is an excellent coach. He is an excellent communicator. And listen, this might be an unpopular opinion among a lot of people and players, but I know from my days growing up and playing sports, the coaches I had the most success under were guys who were not players' coaches. I always performed better under guys who rode my ass and didn't allow me to be mediocre. And I don't know if Bruce is that guy. I don't see him being unpopular, but I was a bit surprised when I read that he was number two. Listen, Tortorella, I'd have no problem playing for him because I think he would make me a better player. Now,
let me
guy
explain this to you.
Well, let me just say this.
Go ahead.
The guy who is at the top of my list, and it's nothing personal against him, I just think Todd McClellan plays the most boring style of hockey.
Have you watched him since? Have you watched the Red Wings since he became the coach?
Well, they're certainly better, but I think he
15-3-1, scoring more goals with a power play clicking at 40+%.
He had to adjust because his style wasn't going to work there.
They all have to adjust.
LA, to me, for the longest time,
dredge.
It was awful hockey to watch. Listen, I wouldn't have wanted to play for Jacques Lemaire because of just the way, and I'm a Devils fan, but the way they played was awful.
Agreed.
I just couldn't get on board with that.
Here's the easy answer to that question. When you talk about players, coaches versus not liked coaches, I love Gerard Gallant. I remember Gerard Gallant when he played left wing on Steve Yzerman's line for the Red Wings. But it's just simple. You know which coach has more Stanley Cup rings than anybody else? Do you know the answer?
Yeah, Barry.
No, Scotty Bowman.
That's Bowman.
Right?
Fucking, what did I say?
Scotty Bowman.
Barry Trotz.
Scotty Bowman's got more rings than fingers.
They look alike. That's why.
Right. Okay. Scotty Bowman was universally, to a man, disliked because he was a ruthless taskmaster with no regard for anything other than win the fucking cup. Right?
Yeah.
Guess what? He won the fucking cup.
More than anyone else.
It was redundant how many times he won the cup. And not only with the Canadians. He won with the Red Wings. He won in Pittsburgh, right? So I understand that now you have to coddle and you have to love these young men, and you can't be mean to them. And Jake DeBrusque. Bruce was mean to me. He said bad things about me. I don't want him to be my coach anymore. Well, fuck you, Jake DeBrusque. Guess what? You don't have a ring, and Bruce does.
You know what? At the end of the day, I look at it this way.
Win.
Well, yeah, that's it. That's all that matters. You are a paid professional hockey player.
Win.
I don't care if the coach is mean to you. Listen, there's obviously abuse and mean, right?
There's Babcock and mean.
Yeah. And Mike Babcock, despite the fact he's not coaching, was third on the list. So
how many rings does he have?
Well, I know he won with 2. Yeah, he's got 2. One where? Detroit? No.
Yeah, I think so.
But
hated.
yeah, but you know what? At the end of the day, when you retire as a player, the only thing that you're ever going to look back on, aside from how much money you made, is how many times your name is on that Stanley Cup.
And how many free meals you can get because you won the Stanley Cup.
Right.
When you go into a restaurant with that big shiny hunk of ring on your finger.
And I've worn that ring. So
yeah, it
I'm
drags you down. It's heavy.
Yeah. Not to a fancy restaurant where people are like, oh my God, that's it. Now, when I took my wife out to Vic and Anthony's last week, I would have liked to have had that ring because I'm sure it would have completely stopped everyone in the room when I walked in. But at the end of the day, I want a coach who's going to make me better. I don't care if he's mean. I want to win, and I want to be the best player. When I retire, I don't want to be a guy who someone says, yeah, this guy had so much potential, but he wasted it. I don't want to be that guy. I'm sorry. And that's it.
That's it?
That's it.
So we have a couple more things to chat about. There's 2 more games on this road trip tomorrow night in the land of Chapman at the Prudential Center against the New Jersey Devils. I am still on the 6 concern level, but I am over the moon excited that I'm going to have the chance to visit with arguably the best guest we've ever had on the podcast, Paul Cotter. The Golden Knights will be playing. He'll be playing against the Golden Knights for the first time since that trade that we're not really allowed to talk about anymore. But I'm excited to see Paul, see how his time in Jersey's going, have a couple of laughs, ask him if there's a Hungry Howie's Pizza out there. And then Saturday afternoon, a national matinee game against the Boston Bruins, who are struggling a bit. They need to change the tide. They need to change the flow. They need to feel good about themselves going into the 2-week break for the 4 Nations tournament. Speaking about feeling good about ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a news flash. The Hockey Nights in Vegas podcast will be giving away tickets again. We've done that how many times? 3 times before?
Yep.
All right, here's the golden, what did we call it before?
Golden giveaway.
Yeah, that's it, the golden giveaway. Tickets courtesy of Joe Riccio and Boris over at Marathon Law. The date of the game, Sunday, March 16th. The opponent, the Detroit Red Wings. A 5 p.m. puck drop. You get 2 lower bowl seats.
Great seats, by the way.
You get free parking. I don't know, Chap, you want to take them to dinner?
Yeah, we could do that again.
Okay, so you get 2 lower bowl seats against the Detroit Red Wings, Sunday, March the 16th, 5 p.m. puck drop. You get free parking. You get dinner at the Elder. It's not really dinner. It's sort of like lunch. A pregame meal. Pregame Mexican food meal at the Eldorado Cantina on Sammy Davis Jr. Drive, just up the road from the T-Mobile Arena. And hey, we're even going to try something different, and I'm springing this on Chapman because I just thought of it. We're going to ask our friend G Money if we can give the winner a tour of the press box and let the people see how we watch the games for a little bit. You won't be able to stay there during the game, but we thought it might be a nice thing to give you a little bit of a different perspective on the game. So this is the first of probably 3 or 4 episodes that you'll have the opportunity to enter the drawing to win those tickets. Once again, March the 16th against the Detroit Red Wings, the mighty, I'll have you know, 7th place in the East, 15-3-1 on a 7-game heater Detroit Red Wings.
Team.
They are a playoff team.
Them and Ottawa.
So let's use win, W-I-N, right? Because we need a W-I-N in pretty much the worst way. So if you watch the episode, comment win on the YouTube page. Don't put it on the Facebook page, even though we see it. We need you to like the podcast on YouTube and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Comment win, share it if you're able, and we'll start to accumulate all the names of all the people. I can tell you that the people who comment on the most episodes get the most entries. Therefore, they are the most likely to win the drawing. Folks, no other podcast in Las Vegas gives you the chance to win tickets, and damn good tickets, as Chapman said, and damn good food and you
Yeah,
get
it
to
was
hang,
really
hang
good.
out a little bit with these two handsome bastards. I mean, I can't find one reason in the world why you wouldn't want to do that. So like, share, subscribe, comment, win. Thanks to our sponsors, as always, Joe Riccio and Boris over at Marathon Law Group, Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net, and the Las Vegas Advisor at lasvegasadvisor.com. I'm pretty sure that we are done till after the break. Chapman's going on vacation. I'm going on Detroit. I'm not going to Detroit, not going to call it a vacation, but we will see you in a couple of weeks with a whole bunch of fresh content. Thank you, as always, for your support and subscribing and commenting. We love to hear from everybody. And I'm going to hit the end button, Chapman. We're out of here.